I'd like to call the meeting of the Narragansett Regional School Committee to order, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Right. I do want to announce that this meeting is being recorded by NRSD, and it is provided to Templeton and Phillipston Cable Access TV. We need to approve our meeting minutes of November 14th. Everybody has a copy, then they were available online. When whoever's ready, if they want to make a motion to approve minutes.
Motion to accept the minutes.
I have a motion to accept the minutes, and do I have a second?
Second.
And I have a second. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Mrs. Coach will abstain. Okay, I would take a motion to accept the bills and payroll as presented.
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments on the warrant report? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Passes unanimously. Okay. So first order of business, well, first I would like to say thank you to the committee for being flexible to move the meeting to Monday. It was short notice, and I appreciate everybody being here. Unfortunately, just for those at home who are looking, we have a very thin crowd because we do have some people sick tonight, because there's definitely something going around. So thank everybody for being available this evening. And without further ado, I would like to turn this over to Dr. Casavant for our next agenda item.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There's the greatest, probably one of the greatest things we get to do as superintendents every year is we get to show off our students. And every year, about in January, we trek down to Worcester, and it's the Worcester County Superintendent's Award Recognition. And what happens is that we go down and we brag just uncontrollably about our students, and it's really disgustingly wonderful. So I get to brag about Miss Juliana Bennett, whom she's here, and what I'm going to do though is I'm going to turn over to Ms. Vassell, so that way Ms. Vassell can just give you all the particulars about how wonderful she is. So it's really going to be up to Ms. Vassell to express that for right now. We have a certificate as well. So.
We need a photo op too.
And well, there's of course there'll be the photo op, but we're going to brag first,
Okay.
and then we're going to take a picture if that's okay.
That's okay.
So this is Juliana Bennett. I'm very happy to introduce her tonight. I'm also glad to see that she got the gray memo. I, however, did not. I'm Team Grinch tonight. Just saying gray or red, I got left out, but that's good. So the main reason, or the reason that Juliana Bennett is being recognized for this award is she has taken 8 AP classes in her time here at Narragansett. And at the beginning of her senior year, when grade point averages are calculated for our seniors, until we get to the end of the year or after the first semester, Juliana did have the highest grade point average of her senior class. So we're really proud of her and the work that she has done and her achievements so far as a student here at Narragansett. Juliana is a member of the Horizon Christian Fellowship Church, where she's very active with the youth group. She also plays the piano there. And I might say that she is an astute piano player. She has played in the school's talent show since she was in 7th grade. We expect she'll be doing so again this year. Upon graduation with us, Juliana plans to attend college and major in biology. Which particular area she's still deciding. She is waiting anxiously to hear from her early action applications that she has submitted. And I'm also happy to say that Juliana will be a member of one of the members with our Dominican Republic trip in February, which we're having a meeting on that tomorrow night. So that's coming up fast and furious, and we're pretty excited about it. And so I'd like to present Juliana Bennett.
Does anybody want to ask her any questions? You know, put on the spot? No? No one?
Some AP
Oh,
bio
right.
questions.
So we're gonna look right at,
Yeah.
whoops, look at this. Okay, no, it's not your fault.
One more. I take terrible pictures. I should have had someone else do this.
Yes, oh, should we turn
Oh,
around?
that
Oh,
way, yeah.
the cameras.
Look, he won't even let her touch the certificate.
It's just so nice. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
And thank you, Juliana, for coming in and joining our meeting so we could do that and embarrass you, I hope. Yeah, okay, good. Yeah, just be careful when you go to the luncheon, you might not want to sit next to Dr. Kennedy.
That's not true.
He sometimes behaves.
I do.
And we're waiting for our school committee when you take us to lunch.
Well, you have to win an award. You have to win an award. And I will gladly do that.
All right. Next up, we have our student representative. And tonight we have James Hool from the junior class.
Oh, I don't get the spinny chair this time? Okay. Winter sports have all begun. The basketball team and the track team look really good. The basketball teams won their first game, so they did really good. It was a nail-biter with CJ Loddick with the last final throw. I'm sure you've all heard about it. He hasn't stopped bragging about it. The middle school has their play going on December 19th at 7 p.m. The Game of Tiaras. It's at December 19th at 7 p.m. The tickets are $5 for adults, $3 for kids, and $3 for students. The Holiday Spirit Week has gone on throughout district-wide, so all schools are participating. This is really cool. The chorus sang the national anthem at the Railers game last week, and they did a phenomenal job. The holiday concert went for the middle and high school. They did a phenomenal job. The high school sounded absolutely fantastic. The elementary school had their concert today, and there was a great turnout. A lot of kids, a lot of parents and grandparents came to see them. The middle school, there's middle school dances planned for after winter break. And lastly, Dr. Cass fan, I was a little upset that I had to be up at 6:30 this morning to come to school. I was really hoping for a 2-hour delay, but that's just my input on that.
So what I've done there is, I've prepared you for life. There's a lot of disappointment.
Yeah,
May I just say you're welcome.
thank you. Thank you very much. Any questions?
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
I received several texts.
tweets. I believe there's some
In
tweets
regards
as
to
well.
not only my personal safety, worried about me, and thank you, but their own personal safety and homework. Apparently, it was a big topic.
And with that, we'll move on to our next agenda item, which is our business manager's report. We have the reports online for anyone who wants to see them at home. And does anyone have any questions regarding the financial reports that have been provided? I will ask within Mrs. Tripolo's absence, I'll ask the grants question. How are we doing with our grants coming in?
Good, the money's coming in monthly now. Once we get rolling, it starts coming in on a regular basis with regular payments. There is one thing on the revolving accounts that I would like to talk to you about. We have a revolving account. It's Fund 316 for Totem Pole. There used to be a totem pole out here in the front area, and it was vandalized, and this money was to replace it. It was the restitution that the kids had to pay in order to replace it. That, I don't know when it happened, probably 20 years ago. It's been here for a long time. I would like to see us rename this account and put this $1,200 towards starting to collect and fund like an electronic message board for out there. The class of 2017 actually made a $2,500 donation, which is sitting in the high school donation account, but we could just do a transfer over to this account and rename this and then start building this up so we could eventually purchase that for the front.
It's a lot of fun to watch Mr. Vancelet out there.
It
Letters
is.
and stuff, though,
Especially when it's snowing.
Yeah.
We all kind of gather and watch. But for the sign, the classes have found that to be a good place to donate the money, whatever money's forward. And we often are the town crier. When people drive by, people look for information. We usually roll the flashing sign for town meetings, etc. So we've been slowly thinking of ways to collect money, to raise money, that type of thing, for a legitimate, digital sign or a digital kind of thing.
How much are those? We have an estimate of about $20,000.
You have in that donation?
2,500.
Plus
Just start, last year was the
Plus
first.
this would
Class of
be,
2017 was the first class to make a donation.
and then we'd have this 1,200 if we chose to
Yeah.
do that, so almost a little over
Every little bit
10%.
helps.
So maybe by the class of 2030.
We're going to reach out to also some businesses.
What would you need from the school committee in order to make that happen?
You probably should
Just a motion to do
make a
so?
motion to change the name
And purpose of the account?
yeah.
So if anyone is feeling so inclined, I would at this point accept a motion to change the name of Totem Pole to electronic signage, or school signage, maybe school signage, because who knows what the next big
Yeah.
advancement might be, right? So
That was the totem pole.
It was here when we went to
it
school
was,
here.
but it was shortly thereafter that it found its
Yeah.
way
So it's
elsewhere.
They're not gonna come back.
No.
It-
No.
This is restitution, right?
Yeah.
So
Some seniors, one year, did a number on it.
Yeah.
And then it starts to rot, actually,
Yeah.
too.
I make a motion, we change the name of the totem pole account to electronic signs.
School signage,
yeah.
school signage. And I think the second half should be, if you make a friendly amendment, to then transfer the money already donated to that, which is sitting in the high school donation account, to it, so that we have the fund set up properly with the right monies.
And that part too.
Yeah. It's however you want to type it, Susan. It's all on film, so. So I have a motion to change the name of the Totem Pole account to the school signage account and transfer the money from the high school donation account that was donated by the class of 2017 in the amount of $2,500 to that account. Do I have a second?
Sure.
I have a second? Okay. Any questions, comments, concerns?
Comment?
Yes.
I'm just wondering now that it is on tape, that someone who may remember the totem pole and have a liking of it and some attachment to it might want to have that back. What would we do in that case?
So,
Well, it would be up to the committee if in fact you would want to bring back the totem pole.
We'd have to have a new account.
Project testing and set at the top of the totem pole.
I'm wondering, with all of the focus on the Native Americans, would it be even appropriate to put one back? I don't know what the temperature and climate is, or would be at that point.
It's not been here since 1999.
I think we'll cross that bridge if it happens.
Yeah. But it's definitely something I think we'll need to have to consider if someone comes forward and says, hey,
I'm just throwing it out there.
no, that's a legitimate concern. Any other questions, comments? Okay, hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? So it Passes unanimously. We now have a 316 school signage account. And actually, while we're on revolving accounts, cafeteria I see is in the red, but you have a note that we'll be expecting to get funding.
Yeah, the reimbursement, it's behind. It's always behind, so it always shows in the red until July.
How are we doing with receivables, any overdue payments? Because I know we increased the school lunch price, was it 2 years ago, I think? We would obviously hate to have to do any of that again. Are we low, we break even, we good financially and sound?
He's holding his own.
Yeah.
His account could always be better. Staffing is really his biggest issue. He spends more than he takes in. We've had a reserve in that account, but it's dwindling, you know? Hopefully with the new school, maybe more lunches will be bought and it will turn around a little bit. But it is a problem because he does pay out more than he takes in. But we've been above water for the past few years, so we're still treading.
It's a completely self-supportive, operation, as you know. Whatever they make, of course, it's going right out and then some. The district does not, we have no expenditure there, so to speak, but at some point that might be another pressure point that we'll have to discuss, given the fact that, you can only raise lunches so high before they become, when I say unattainable, I think we all know what I'm talking about. It's about the sheer numbers of kids, and we do everything we can with free and reduced lunch. Those are numbers that we try to capture because the reimbursement is high, but we're hopeful that with the elementary, focus on the elementary, that we'll be able to, capture more lunches or serve more lunches, because that'll be the telltale.
So I recently read that there will be some changes to the school lunch program, that the federal government has pulled back from some of the mandates. Instead of 100% whole grain, it's 50% because just the issue of trying to source.
Sure.
I'll be curious to see, and maybe we can even get Mr. Bodrazic to come in and talk to us when he figures out, what the impact of that will have. I'm hoping maybe more children will eat lunches, because if they don't taste good, it doesn't matter if they're free, reduced, or paid. No one wants to eat something that doesn't taste good. And if, in fact, we're sourcing the ingredients, that maybe there's more availability or cheaper price points.
Right.
So.
Tater tots, that's all you gotta say, right? Tater
I'm
tots.
in. And it's funny, I had one other question anybody else have any questions on the financials for Mrs. Geister? Oh, two things. I see we have TC donations and we have BES donations. Will those the source of those monies, didn't we take donations for the new school? So will they offset? Didn't we, in the beginning, there was some donations that were supposed to go to building the new Templeton Center School, if I remember correctly.
I don't
Remember
recall
this?
those. I don't.
These have been around for a long
So
time.
what are the purposes of these? And of course, they're in here, we could direct them. I guess my question is kind of leading, are we looking that we have a need at the new school? One, I assume that when the school's up, we'll combine the two accounts, because you can't have a donation account for a building that doesn't exist. But what are we using the money for? I mean, I see that
The walkathon is fund through the donation accounts. The money that they raise when the health teacher does the walkathon goes in as revenue, and her expenses to run it come out with her, I don't know, the things that she does for the kids come out through it. Because it really is not student activity stuff, because it's not just pizza for the kids. It's more supplies to help the programs. So that's what's the activity is that you see in there right now.
Okay.
The TC donations, is that the one you're talking about?
I think that's,
5,000?
I think it's the BES donation, a little further down. I think that's where those,
Yeah.
the health teachers'
Yeah.
monies are going in and out of for the walkathon.
Phillipston's is on there too.
Yeah. And Phillipston does a walkathon as well?
Yeah, she
Good.
does it for both
Oh,
schools.
perfect.
Yeah.
Great. And my other question was, I knew that was gonna happen. I don't know, I don't remember my
Actually,
question.
I've got a question. So the TC donations, the PMS donation, and the BES donation, those are all separate from like a PTO
Yes.
Yes.
account?
Yes, this is money that we control. The PTOs, they have their own accounts. They do what they want with theirs.
So I was under the impression when I was in PTO that when you collected money, you were to spend it within that year. The year that the kids that raised that money, it was supposed to be earmarked for something within that year to be raised and spent on those children.
That's PTO.
So what are they collecting this money for exactly?
Well, the TC money has been there for years. That's just people or wherever it came from, the donations, and it's just been sitting there.
It shouldn't be just sitting there, $5,000, almost $6,000 just sitting in an account.
But it was a donation. Who knows what it was slated
But they're all
for?
called donations.
Right, but the activity that you see in the Phillipston and the Baldwinville is the walkathon program that she runs. The health teacher, the elementary health teacher runs the walkathon program. That's what that activity is that you see on that sheet.
And that raises money too, right?
Yes,
Do you know when the last activity was for the TC?
not off the top of my head, but we could.
Yeah, could we
well,
look-
we
I-
could look
I
it
do
up, but
remember somebody
I only
making
have 3
a-
years of history
Yeah.
that I can see in the system.
And I think before that, I think we did receive some money donations to go towards building the new, I remember at one point there was this movement, maybe we can get some community donations to help offset the
I
costs.
know a long time ago, when Mrs. Colvette was the secretary at Templeton Center, there was money donated and she went out and bought like winter clothes for the kids that needed it. So that would have been run through that account.
So maybe if you could look into that and next time we meet, have just a little more information, that'd be great. The parking fee, do we actually have any, do we fee anybody for parking?
Nope, that's
Should
just
we,
another one
should we
that's left over.
either get rid of it, or should we start actively ticketing people as
Well-
a source of revenue and
Students
behavior
used to have to pay
modification?
for a parking
So,
permit.
yeah, so that's actually come up at one point. Seniors, or I think it was seniors, had to, if they wanted to park in the senior parking lot, you had to pay. And a lot of districts have you pay whatever it is for the parking spot. That is coming on, and I couldn't tell you when the last time someone paid to park here. I know that that was raised, and people didn't feel very comfortable with that because, it was another, what would you use the fees for? Well, the fees generally go back into, again, we don't have that many seniors who park and to pay, but it goes back into the parking lot. It goes back into facilities. In a lot of places, it'll go back into facilities. at
Plowing
some
and all of
point.
that sort of.
Yeah, so if, curbs need to be
Paint
fixed,
for the
paint for the
lines,
lines, I mean,
signs.
it's again, and that's a great example about how money can sit there for a bit. I used the Totem Pole fund. I mean, when did you say that was, 99?
No, 94 actually, I think it was the
94.
class of 94,
Yeah.
that it was damaged.
So what happens is it's
If I
earmarked.
remember right.
Yeah,
Gosh,
and so
class.
it just kind of, it does, it'll park there. So that's why that money is there, for example.
Could we have, maybe at our next meeting, a recommendation from you as to any other changes that we would want to make? So if you think we should dissolve that account, maybe at our next meeting, we can talk a little more about some of these, if there's any other changes, like that NOG, it was at the PD for the
area.
extended area, should we dump that into PD?
Yeah.
You know, so maybe if you
Exactly.
guys could do that, and
Yep.
we can come back and have that discussion, and maybe allocate some of that income to the general fund, offset, I mean, it's not a lot of money, but,
No, can't go to the general fund, but we can
sorry,
certainly
but spend it
for
or
some.
combine it into
Or
another.
we could put it into
Yeah,
another revolving
sure.
account
Yeah.
that makes more sense, for
You
example.
could just
you know what
close them
Or
and
close
put
it.
them into the sign. You just
Or whatever.
Yeah.
transfer
Okay,
to the
so if
sign
you
if
want to make.
to.
She's looking at me like, you have no idea what you just wrote. She's right. All right. Any other questions or comments on the financials that have been presented? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to our next. We have public input. Do we have anyone from the public that would like to speak with us? I don't see anybody. Do we have an NDEA rep? I don't see Mrs. Parker's usually here. I don't see her today. School committee comments. Do we have any comments from the school committee?
Yep.
Okay, I have one. I just wanted to offer my thanks and congratulations to all of the schools for participating in the Holiday Basket Drive, where we ask all the students to donate food, non-perishables, and the baskets we put together this year. The group worked with the Templeton Food Pantry rather than do this on their own, and I believe a whole bunch of baskets with frozen turkeys. So for the holidays, they're going out through the food pantry. And again, thanks to Mr. Podrazik and the rest of the team that works on that, and all the students and parents and community members that make that possible. We get some donations to help offset. So that, I believe, what's today, the 17th? I think last week we got everything to the food pantry to make that work. So great job to everybody. Any other comments, questions? Okay. Hearing none, we'll move on. The next new business is the Superintendent Evaluation. This is the final evaluation for 2018. Everybody should have in front of them the Superintendent Evaluation form. We would like to have this filled out and returned back to central office so that we can consolidate all of the data and present the results to Dr. Casavant in January. So perhaps we can set a date of, what's the Friday after New Year's? The second, January 4th. So can everybody get this back by January 4th? Dr. Casavant had sent an email out, to everybody with the link to his evaluation evidence folder. And everything, I took a look at it, everything seems to be linked nicely, so you'll be able to do a good look at each of the goals, has its own folder. The indicators are mapped through a separate document. And as always, and as he said in his email, if you have questions or need additional pieces of documentation for evidence, to just reach out to Dr. Casavant and he can supply those.
So we're giving them to central office?
Yes, if we could turn them into Mrs. Barney just to collect them. And does Mrs. Charter want to combine them?
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I know, she loves to do that. So Mrs. Charter has so gracefully volunteered to combine all the results.
Electronic or hard copy?
Hard copy, we're looking maybe next year to do electronic, but there's a lot of setup that would have to happen to make that, because once you go through, you'll see all these indicators and all the stuff that needs to get put into a form. But if you fill it out and scan it and email it to, absolutely,
And
absolutely.
I can mark it up electronically.
Perfect,
Right?
yes.
That's fine?
Yeah, oh,
That's
absolutely,
okay?
yeah, absolutely. We just need to reach out to Mr. Mason, Mrs. Trufalo, and Mrs. Robichon to make sure that they have what they need, and I will do that. But if Mrs. Varney could send me a text maybe tomorrow to remind me, that would be awesome. Does anyone have any questions? I don't know if you've had a chance to take a look through the evidence. I know, Jeff, you're kind of new to this form, so I'm happy to walk through it with you at some point. Dr. Kazavan can certainly go through it with you as well to kind of talk through the goals and the indicators. This is a form that comes from DESE, so they've come up with this, this format, and we use it. We vote on the goals at the beginning of the year. We did an interim evaluation, and now this is his final evaluation. So, any questions, comments? Everybody have what they need? And if not, Dr. Kazavan's waiting, willing, ready, and able.
Just can't wait to talk to you about it.
No, I think as I was going through it, some of the goals and some of the evidence was in the future. It hasn't come up yet. We haven't gotten to them yet.
So interestingly, the way it kind of fell out because of a lot of things that happened, that the goals were not finalized until September of this year-ish. And the timeline, that was the last time we spoke, which is back September, October. So you're right. A lot of those items, for example, or specifically, would be the school plan, strategic planning. So we have a date as an administrative team to go through that protocol, which I've listed as evidence. But right, we haven't hit that yet. And even on the original time frame, I indicated that around February, I think it's February, I don't have it committed to memory, that we would have at least the rough plan, which I'm still on track for. It's just that we just didn't get a lot of that moving as quickly as we could have, just because of some things that happened before. So yeah, some of the stuff is in the future, it's coming. The setup work is there, the information that we're going to use for the strategic planning is all there. I think that probably primarily, if I was to say, is that the indicators that were identified a while ago for each of the main sections. So, one, I'm just trying to think of one. Is it
Instructional leadership?
Instructional. I can't remember the indicators. Those have carried right along. So those indicators have been with me for quite some time, and that's why there's a lot of it. That's why it's embedded, and it's why there's links. I mean, as I said, I think in my email, it was a matter of just scattering. I could produce whatever you needed to see if, otherwise.
Yeah, and it's interesting with the goals, because we're evaluating you calendar year,
Right.
but it's kind of a fiscal year for some of these. I guess you can do one of two things. You can select a rating, or you can make a comment that,
Yes, okay.
And I would say specifically with you, Jeff, just since you're new, that if you have questions, one, talk to Dr. Kazavan, or if you're not comfortable answering something, then don't. If you don't feel comfortable that you have the information you'd need to evaluate properly, then just leave it blank. So.
One of the other ones that I was looking at, again, I think some of it is just because I'm unfamiliar with it, was the accessibility on the website. I know that it does have a link, there is some accessibility in there, but it looked like we were looking to do more work, and I just wasn't sure where that stood.
Right, so we are.
Okay.
We currently meet the mandate from the state in terms of everything being ADA compliant,
Yeah.
the little button. What behind the scenes, I think, I forgot when we talked about the new website, this might have been back a bit, but you won't see any scrolling, banners. You won't see those, because those are not, you can't use the ADA compliancy protocols for those. For example, that's just like one example. So Mike and his team revamped the entire website over the summer, and that was a rollout for this year. We're adding information, a lot of information. We're adding new pages, etc. But in terms of the ADA compliancy, unless they've changed, and sometimes they do, but we're hitting the mark as of right now because of all the things that we're doing right now.
Thank you.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because we had scrolling banners, we had flashers, and those things cannot be,
And I just wasn't sure of the old website, how much work we have done, so.
Yeah, it's quite a bit. They've done a great job, sure.
Okay, anything else? Next up was the Superintendent Strategic Planning Committee. And Dr. Casavant would like to have a school committee member as a member of his planning committee. So I wanted to see if we had any interest, availability, anybody who would like to serve on that committee. That
A lot of surveys.
lots of surveys, no,
Lots of
ridiculous. Do I? So
Sure. Also,
Jeff, okay.
Perfect.
That's great. So you are now appointed.
Okay.
Actually, you're just on our list of committees that you're on. That will be one of them. Thank you, thank you. We look forward to hearing all the feedback on that. All right, next up, we have some surplus items. We have surplus book list from the Library Media Center. There's a listing of materials. I would entertain a motion to approve the surplus books and materials that as presented.
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I do have a second. Do I have any questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? So unanimous. Will we put these out for, so hopefully someone will buy?
We're gonna do just like we've done
Just like
in
we've
the
done.
past, or, and then, but we won't throw them away. We'll
Right.
put them in with those book depositories.
Next up, we have out-of-state field trips. It looks like our outdoor adventure group wants to go to Keene.
Ice climbing.
Ice climbing, yikes, they're gonna learn the safety equipment, wow. And there's two requests from the group. One is, let's see, one is in the high school, and the other's a middle school, so there's two groups that are going at different times, the high school group, and then he's taking a middle school group. If I would entertain a motion to approve both of these field trips.
So moved.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
I do have a second. Any questions or comments on these trips?
No, but I'd like to hear about them after. We'll see pictures.
I know, that sounds like a great trip.
Mountain and that climbing on January 4th.
Can I tell you, they can't wait.
I'm
John
sure.
Freer does a fantastic job, and he's actually I would honestly say he's an expert in this area, does this and for another business of his own, but the kids are just thrilled to do
You
this.
gonna join them?
No. But thank you.
Well, we nominate you to, if they need
understand.
another chaperone, that's
Susan
great.
will go.
So any questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Voted unanimously. And perhaps we could ask Mr. Donfrey
I
when
think
he was
that'd be,
back
I
to do
was
a nice
just
little
gonna, I was
slideshow
just
for
gonna write this
everybody.
down, because I think
Yeah.
that you would love to present it.
Yeah.
Certainly love to talk.
And maybe, if these are in January, so maybe at our February meeting?
Yeah, that makes sense,
Yeah.
because we both will be completed.
Okay. Next up, we have PBIS donations, and I know we have someone here who I think is going to talk to us a little bit, so I'll turn it over to Dr. Casavant first, who can kind of introduce the subject.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So we embarked on the PBIS curricular and of course, changing the culture across the district. So this is actually a long time coming if you're a middle school person. This has been something that when I did my internal audit, my very first audit was raised flags, so they were trying for many years to get it moving. So we finally got it off the ground. But in order to better explain it, Ms. Wheeler's going to come down. She's part of the PBIS committee. Or did you not want to come down? Are you just here to? I was thinking you were here to talk about it.
Whatever you need.
Oh no, yeah. So if you'd like to just fill in the gaps as I try to. But PBIS works on a lot of really about accentuating the positive behaviors that we're trying to instill. And what happens is that you want to find something intrinsic that matters. So it's a big difference between, say, a first grader and kindergarten, who, by the way, it was pajama day. They earned pajama day last Friday. And but something very different, say, to the middle schoolers. Pajama day probably wouldn't be the best
Yeah,
Yes.
well, they were bottoms.
They did wear bottoms, they
I
actually
know,
did.
I know a
Thank
couple
you.
of high schoolers who like.
Yes, so, but if you just want to talk about some of the donations that folks were doing.
Sure. We sent letters out and asked area businesses if they would be willing to donate so that we could give prizes to the middle school age kids and also to the teachers to get a better buy-in for the PBIS program. So we received 7 donations, a couple of monetary, and then the rest are different, which I was impressed with. Fitchburg Art Museum for gift passes, the Ecotarium, the Gardner Ale House gave us $230. Parker Glass actually provided the plexiglass that we're building our boxes for. And the reason we wanted plexiglass was so that the kids can see the tickets rising. And when a grade gets a full box, they will have some type of a grade level. So we're trying to do, we do individuals on Fridays, but in January that's going to change a little bit. They're going to be able to save their tickets and turn them in to earn different things like so many for eating lunch with the principal or first in line in the CAF or, that type of thing. So we're trying to get away from the monetary, like the gift cards and that type of thing and get them. In the summer, we'll have them, they'll be able to sit out in the courtyard with their friends and things like that. So we're, we're learning as we go. And other than that, we're just trying to keep afloat.
Well, thank you. It sounds like you've got some wonderful donations from our community, which always rises to the occasion every time we ask. So.
Yes, and what I would like to do is I'm going to send them receipts so that they can use them for taxes. So Sue gave me the tax ID, and then also thank you notes. And Sue mentioned that I should be sending them from Narragansett Middle School. My name was on the donation letter, so I had put my name on it, but I can change that if that's what you'd rather have.
And maybe have the kids make the thank you cards.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
What does PBIS stand for?
Positive Behavior Intervention Supports.
That's going to be a discussion, probably at one of our next several school committees. I think we need a presentation on what that means for more information,
I haven't heard anything about this. Where did this come from? 'Cause
Well, this was, it was started, I'd almost have to ask folks who've been here a bit. PBIS was initiated and stopped and.
In the elementary
initiated.
for earlier.
And at the middle school level, it was attempted several times.
Yeah, we did it as a professional goal at one point, and it didn't work out because of the changeover with the leadership. So and then they decided to go district, so.
I think just more specific to your question, Lori, if you, and I think it's because it was probably called something a little different when we worked on when we had our district improvement plan session. PBIS was one of the initiatives that was going to be used for multi-tiered.
MTSS.
Social emotional.
Thank you. So it's
Initiative 3.
Okay, Initiative 3. So, yeah. And I know we've kind of talked about getting more information and talking about this at a school committee meeting, but it's been in the initial planning stages, so kind of wanted to wait till it matures just a little bit to give some more concrete information about it. So I think there's a lot more information to come. But in the meantime, again, thank you to these community members for helping us get this off the ground. So. Okay, back to the agenda. Okay, superintendent report. I will turn this over to Dr. Kazavant.
Thank you very much. Enrollment and school choice update, honestly, at this point, it is, it's static. It hasn't changed. Onesies, twosies, it really is the same number of kids that we've had since the last time we spoke, quite frankly. And that's what we fully expect this time of the year. We don't expect a lot of movement during this time of the year, and we don't have it this time of year. So that's been great, obviously, because it's always hard to transition in the middle of the year, no matter if you're coming or you're going. It's a tough time. The other, oh, I'm sorry, you want to make sure I?
Nope.
Okay. So every year, every school system honors its John and Abigail Adams Scholarship Award winners, and we are no different. I forgot when exactly we received that information, quite frankly, but it's somewhere in November. I just don't know when in November quite.
Right, it comes whenever we get our final, or it usually comes right after we get our final MCAS reports.
And so I actually had to look back because I think that some folks think that in order to be eligible, first off, the John and Abigail Adams Scholarship Award is a scholarship that's given to, that the scholarship covers tuition only, not fees and room and board, and are not included. Oh, thank you. Yeah. And, that saves money, if nothing else for the state school. I mean, that is money in someone's pocket, whoever's paying for that, paying for the college. So, but you have to have a score of advanced or proficient on grade 10 MCAS tests in English language arts or math, and at least one score must be advanced, okay? And have a combined score of MCAS, ELA, and mathematics tests that place them in the top 25% of the students in the graduating class in their district. So it's just not so much, it's just not the, the notion of getting an advanced and proficient. You have to be then in the top 25%. So I think some people think it's, as long as you get that advanced, you're all set. That's not always the case. And so I have the list of students. I'm going to do my very best to just rattle them all off. Although we do have a picture up on Facebook, up on our webpage, and they all look just dapper. But do I have them all here? No? Okay.
Yeah, that's
okay.
an alphabetical order.
Oh, geez, all right. So, Hannah Bennett, Ms. Juliana Bennett, Anthony Collins, Kelsey Grusso, Angela Davis, Nev Demhurst, Lily DeVarney, Nicolio, I never say his name Donnarummo? Nico. Oh, it's Nico.
Yeah.
Nico. Benjamin Edwards, Zach French, Rachel Garrity, Mariana Jameson, Christopher LeBlanc, Ethan Lang, Andrew Lyons, Julie Moore, Caitlin Murphy, Brian O'Sullivan, Cassandra Pintilla, maybe, Cole Peterson, Noah Welch, and John Warden were recognized, and they receive a nice something from the state and from us, but more importantly, their parents or maybe themselves who are going to pay for a state school, they get that scholarship. It has to be used within 6 years of a student graduation. So that's also something that I did not know about the time frame. So congratulations to them. I think that one of the things that we're learning is that when the MCAS changes, because it's changing this year, it's no longer the traditional MCAS that we know. They'll be switching over like the rest of the elementary and middle school did the last couple of years. People are wondering what effect that will have. I don't know. We'll see. I'm pretty confident, though, in our students and obviously our teaching staff that we'll have the same great group of, obviously it'll be next year, but we'll have the same numbers. So congratulations to them. It's always great to recognize, folks. We are an academic institution. We are a school, and so that's why we're here. And we love to honor those who have really put forth excellent educational effort, and that's certainly one measure. So,
Congratulations to the entire list of students.
Yes.
That's fabulous.
whole bunch of them, I'll tell you. So, school choice survey update. So the survey has been, the school choice survey has been completed for about a month and a half, quite frankly. We worked with Mars and Massachusetts Association, Superintendent's Association, to craft a survey that asks a host of questions as to the parents, obviously, as to why they have chosen to school choice out of the district. We are waiting on which it will be preliminary MCAS, the school choice list. When we receive that, we'll have to take that list and then compare it with the school attending report, because we don't actually get the addresses. In the very end report, in June, we get the report of every child whose school choice is out. And we know that we have their addresses, and we know what grades that they're currently in, and we know what schools they go to. Okay? So it becomes very easy to just send off a survey. It won't be that easy this time. We'll have to compare kind of names and match it up to the school attending report. But within the next 24 hours, as we were promised by the state, we will at least get that information, we'll compare it, and we will send that out. And then once we receive that information back, it's a survey, they'll fill it out, there's a self-addressed stamped envelope inside. There's no marker either way to, it's totally anonymous, and that's what our letter out says. And this is just, another way that we're trying to gain, we're trying to gain information about what we can do better. We did this when I first came aboard with this survey that we sent out to, gosh, I don't even know, using Panorama, and it was online, and we gained a lot of information that way. Well, it's been about 3 years, so it's time to kind of reach out again. This time we're going to focus, and it was actually a request from the Templeton Select Board as well, but we'll be sending that information out as soon as we can figure out exactly whom to send it to. As a default, because sometimes it's not always that easy, we've already got to figure it out. I'm just simply going to send it to the folks that were in the FY18 pool of school choice out, with the exception of including the seniors, to get their input. So we're ready to go. We have the information. Nico has done a lot of work with stuffing envelopes. He's our intern, and so we're just waiting for what addresses to put on the envelopes out. Have any questions about that?
So you expect like 3 to 4 months before we'll have data back and analyze to see what is...
So we'll play it. What I plan to do is let's say we send out 100. I don't know, and I'll really look at percentages. Given the time of the year. I mean, I don't expect anyone to look at something like that right now, but we'll wait about a month and then see what total number is out. And we've got an idea about like a postcard. Hey, sent you a survey. If you could send out the information, send it back, that'd be great. That kind of thing. But I would like to have this information month and a half, or at least be able to, have some type. I'd like to have over 60%, right? That's what we want. It's will I get 60%? I don't know. We'll see. We're going to send it to all school choice out. We don't have a lot of kids who go to charter school. We'll send it to charter school, and homeschool is sometimes difficult too. We don't have all the information, but we'll send that. We'll send what we have, and we'll go from there.
Great, thank you.
School choice. Okay, SRO contract. So, spoke with the police chief Bennett, and the last time we spoke, there were only 2 minor changes, although they're a little bit more than that. But the contract that the state put out, that the model contract fits wonderfully. We both feel when we look this over it's excellent. Matter of fact, it's long and it covers everything as you can possibly imagine. The chief wanted to add 2 very specific pieces in the model language contract, which, by the way, fits. One is the agreement in terms of the compensation. All right, so it's this percentage, and we have that from our meeting. The other part is, it's not that it's difficult, although I'm going to send it to you because I think that the school committee needs to take a look at this, because, as the chief pointed out, what happens if there are both departments were to have someone who's qualified, and both departments put a candidate forward for SRO? And actually, the contract language speaks to us regionals and say, hey, you probably should figure that out because you might get more than one candidate. Well, then that becomes, an exercise of probably a committee. A decision will have to be made. So what I've done is I've drafted up what I feel are what I would think the basic requirements of the committee would look like, with a tiebreaker option in there as well. The criteria of school resource officer is clearly laid out after that. My gosh, I mean, it's very defined. Matter of fact, it's over-defined. It's just very exact. But I think that what I'm going to send this out to you folks, to take a look at what you think about the structure of the committee, if in fact Templeton and Phillipston were to put forth a candidate each that were qualified to be an SRO, because that would be something that we would have to, have consideration for. And so once that's vetted, once folks take a look at it, as far as the chief and I are concerned, we're good. But I'm going to send that out to you. It's done. But let me know. The FY20 budget update, well, we just gave it. It was just prior to this. We've worked several scenarios out, color-coded, et cetera. We've worked as many scenarios out that we can. It's really a cost, what it's going to cost to run the district initiative at this point, because we don't have any type of revenue in from the state or otherwise. I certainly appreciate the feedback as to what other things we could do to improve, if nothing else, just the kind of how it looks and how it can be, viewed. But we will make those changes, and we've, again, we're the positions that they're being sought are foundation. They are foundational. They are absolutely needed. These are not like, gee, that would be really great. We know what Phillipston needs because of the reconfiguration, and we know what Templeton Center is going to need because of the reconfiguration, and so that was of course highlighted in the presentation. So we carry on. I know that the towns are looking to when we'll meet as a group again, an all board meeting. I believe February is when we thought was going to be the next time that we would meet. By that point, we should have most of what we need in terms of the state information, unless something horrific goes on, happens. But we're moving forward, and so we're again, the information is there, and please give me any input that we need, that you might need. Pardon me.
Anybody have any questions or comments for Dr. Kazan? Any surveys they want him to create? All right.
Well, survey.
And next up, we have curriculum instruction, and Mrs. Cleese is going to talk to us about the Footsteps to Brilliance program, which we started last year, and let us know how things are going.
Okay, so Footsteps to Brilliance is an application that we have purchased as part of an innovation zone of 10 or more districts in our area. All are participating in this. It's a literacy application that can be put on any electronic device. It's device agnostic, so you can put it on an iPhone or an Android, a tablet, a computer, an Apple, a PC, any kind of a device, and it's a literacy application for early literacy. So it goes from birth to grade 3, about 8 years old. So we've promoted this in the community through the before and after school program, and of course through our classrooms. The teachers have this application. It's something that they utilize in classrooms and centers, and it encompasses reading, writing, and literacy skills. So it helps kids with letter recognition and so forth. You have a report in your packet that was run on December 7th. I ran a report today, and today students have read 427,000 more words than they did 10 days ago. So the new total for words is 4,760,383 words have been read just in this fiscal year, not including our launch in the spring. Students have read 13,635 books, and that's 1,326 books more than they had read 10 days ago. So it's really a great app to get students reading, and as we know, the more they read, the more they become better readers. So on that report, it shows you how many hours they've read, and I pieced that out a little bit just to see hours of reading, because there are hours for applications and skills and games and all different things. But students have read about 1,405 hours. And to put that in perspective, if you divided that out by every student we have, K to 3, that would be over 3 hours per student using this application. In fact, based on the usage, because not every single student is using it, Baldwinville students have read an average of 9 hours, Phillipston students have read an average of 13 hours, and TC students have read an average of 25 hours using this app. And it makes sense that TC's numbers are high because it really is geared to the younger grades. So it really is helping our students with their reading abilities, and the average comprehension rate for all schools is above 70% on their first try at answering questions. So that's pretty good. I wanted to also talk about our literacy pilot that we're doing and just give you a little bit of an update on that, and then if you have any questions about either of these things. So we began discussions with teachers about what they have for resources in the classroom, what they need for resources in the classroom, and so forth. There really is an apparent need for a literacy program for teachers in the elementary grades, K to 5, because teachers have a finite amount of time to prepare lessons, and as we know in elementary school, they're preparing and planning lessons for all subjects, right? So without the structure of a program, they're spending time finding resources and gathering resources rather than they have the resource and then they can spend the time thinking about how best to implement it and what are the better strategies for teaching it and so forth. So I think it would behoove us to have teachers spend the time that they have on those, deeper questions. So we began with discussions with teachers. I then got samples of various programs. We had about 3 or 4 programs, and teachers reviewed them over time. They were in my office. If you've been in my office in the last couple months, you've seen them. At common planning time, teachers came in, and then on the November PD day, we brought them into the PD, and they had some time then to look through them with their teams. They completed a Google survey on the programs that we had samples for, and the Google survey was based on something called IMET, Instructional Materials Evaluation Tool. It was something put out by Achieve the Core, which is an organization that is a really go-to organization regarding Common Core standards. And that survey asked teachers to comment on and rate the program's alignment to standards, how the program addresses concepts of print, phonics, phonological awareness, vocabulary, fluency, language standards, cultural diversity, text types, genres, comprehension, and a range of factors. So they looked comprehensively at these programs. First glance, realized, right? And they rated them. We then chose 2 programs to pilot, and 14 teachers, 2 per grade level, volunteered to pilot. We're going to pilot Into Reading, which is a Houghton Mifflin product, and Wonders, which is a McGraw-Hill product. So there's been a lot of teacher discussion and teacher input leading up to this pilot. In January, teachers in grades K to 5 will have, so 1 teacher in grades K to 5 for Into Reading and 1 for Wonders, with the exception of grade 3, which is going to have 2 and 2. But those teachers who are piloting Into Reading will have a day of training provided free of charge to us by the publisher, and the teachers who are piloting Wonders will have a day of training, so they have the support they need to launch into a pilot, and then they'll pilot some number of units starting probably in February and moving forward. The publishers supply complete teacher materials and class sets for the pilot free of charge to us. So it's really advantageous for us to do this.
That's exciting.
It is exciting. The next steps will be that I'll meet with the principals and we'll develop a process for teachers who are piloting to take stock of their experience and rate their experience with the product on a number of different factors, and then share that with their colleagues, so to make sure that we're gathering the right information from the pilot. And of course, I'm trying to get quotes from each publisher and get the best deal we can.
Great.
So those are two big literacy things, Footsteps to Brilliance and the literacy pilot that we're going to do.
Great.
Yeah.
I love the fact that getting the teacher buy-in in the
Yeah.
pilot program, I love that. Just out of curiosity, out of the teachers that, looked at it in the professional development and looked at it, do we know what the percentage of teachers that responded to the Google poll? Was it all, did they all have to, or?
Not every teacher responded. I don't know the percentage, but it was more than 50%.
Okay.
Overall, both programs, they really rated Into Reading and Wonders, and they rated them pretty equally as really good programs. We decided to pilot they rated Journeys and Wonders equally in that survey. They didn't spend as much time looking at Into Reading. It's a brand new program. Since then, Shantae and Courtney Bachand went to a conference and learned more about Into Reading, and there's been a little more feedback about that and a little bit more buzz about that, and teachers really have expressed an interest in that program, so we're piloting that program and Wonders. One of the reasons also is that I wanted a program from one publisher and one from another, because to choose two programs from one publisher I felt was kind of limiting us. Also, the programs that they're going to pilot are very current. The Into Reading is a 2020 product that is like really hot off the presses, and the Wonders is either 2019 or 2020 as well.
Other questions? Just maybe more of an observation than a question. On the Footsteps to Brilliance, I see that we have 208 community users. Would those be children who are in that, say, 0 to
Yes.
4 age group that aren't with us yet to be assigned an ID in our school?
Yes, exactly. So they could be younger siblings of families who have students in our school, or they could be families that have young children that don't even have students in our school yet. That number, we want to encourage as many families as possible. So we put that information out in as many ways as we can. We put it on Facebook, or it's gone home through the before and after school program, and kindergarten sign up, and as many ways as we can. So we do try to get those families who either have the younger siblings or don't have a child in school yet. Because we know we see little ones all the time. They're 3, 4 years old and they have their mom's phone. Well, let them be on an app that's teaching them something really good.
That's very encouraging.
Yeah.
208, that will be the future as they
That's
enter
right.
the school system.
And the data follows our kids. So if we get kids in this program in kindergarten, first grade, second grade, it follows them in subsequent years, so that they're not starting from scratch.
That's great. Anybody have any other questions, comments? No? Well, thank you. You're welcome. Look forward to hearing more about the curriculum materials when you get your feedback. All right. And now we are at our most loved part of the evening, which means we're almost done, is our subcommittee reports. Academic administrative, and Mrs. Trifilo isn't here. I'll give a quick update. Our last meeting, we just really were focusing, continuing to focus on MCAS results. We talked a little bit about the data dashboard, which I think next meeting we're going to have a presentation on. So we'll kind of defer any further discussion, but be prepared to, I think, be impressed with what we got a little preview of. And other than that, same thing, superintendent evaluation falls in there, so we had some discussions on that. Next up would be finance, and I think we've all just, as a committee, had our update since we all sat an hour through that meeting and heard Dr. Kazvan's FY20 update in this meeting. Facilities, Mr. Mason isn't here, and I see Mrs. Geister isn't here. I don't know if Dr. Kaznet, you have anything of substance to bring up at this point?
No, not since we talked about some of the capital items, but that was almost 2 meetings ago, so.
Okay. Next up, we have policy. Mrs. Kojal?
And we have 15 policies to review. Some will be eliminated, some are new, and some are just being changed. So, do you want me to read the whole list, all 15?
Yeah, I think we should for the record.
Goodness
Yes.
gracious.
We've been busy.
Okay, we have been busy. We've been going through that policy book like crazy, and we are ahead of ourselves. JIE is a proposed update, and it's about pregnant students, and it's updated for current language and law, removes procedural information. And all of the changes you can see if you go on the link online, but they're too long to print out. JIH, proposed new, searches and interrogations. This sets a policy statement for searches and interrogations within the schools. JIHA, proposed for deletion. It's locker searches. This can be deleted if we adopt JIH, and this policy, JIHA, contains mostly procedural information anyway. JJ is proposed new, co-curricular and extracurricular activities. It sets a policy statement for co-curricular and extracurricular activities within the schools. JJA, proposed update for student organizations. Current policy will be covered under the new policy JJ if adopted. New wording will set policy statement on creation and management of student organizations. JJIB is proposed update, interscholastic sports, sets a policy for interscholastic sports. Current policy is procedural. JJIW, proposed for deletion, protective mouthguard requirement. This is governed by MIAA regulations and should be contained in athletic handbooks, not in our policy book. JJIX, proposed for deletion, athletic parental consent form, part of procedural process for athletic registration, which is done online now. JJIY, proposed for deletion, athletic participation fee, procedural except for statement about school committee establishing fee schedule, which is covered in other policies. JJIZ, proposed for deletion, varsity letters, procedural, belongs in the student handbook. JK, proposed new, it's student conduct, sets district policy and outlines responsibility for student conduct. JKA, proposed update, corporal punishment, reinforces state law that maintaining of discipline does not include the right to use corporal punishment. JL, proposed new, student welfare, sets district policy on supervision of students and student safety. JLA, proposed update, student insurance program, sets policy on non-compulsory accident insurance and competitive athletics insurance coverage. And JLIA, proposed for deletion, supervision of students, no corresponding policy on MASC reference manual. This is, again, procedural in nature, not really policy. So this is, they're going up for first reading. I would like a motion to bring them forth, and then we can change anything that needs to be changed.
I will make a motion to have these be approved for first reading.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining?
Good, it's unanimous. Awesome.
It is unanimous, and wait till next month, people. We have more coming forward.
Sounds like a threat.
No, it's good. We're really getting through it. 4 years we've been working on this.
Now you're gonna start over.
Yeah,
No, then we
that's
have, then we'll just review though.
Yeah.
It's, at least it'll be organized
Yeah.
then, which just
Yeah.
kind of,
It's been an interesting journey.
it has.
Although-
Thank you to
Traveling
Margaret,
through
who
our
does it all
policy
on the computer, because without Margaret, we'd be lost.
Although they keep sending us.
More updates.
Yeah, new updates, right.
Yeah.
New laws,
I know.
this changed,
Like,
so.
geez, we've got to triage what's most important, so.
But once we get it all organized, it'll be much easier for
Yeah,
us.
yep. Okay, long-term planning, Mrs. Mattson, you have,
We just met this morning. The only thing I can remember from this morning was that we did discuss the regional agreement, just that we regional agreement committee, you know, back together, have that looked at again, and also we need to look at the school building leases and look into all the legal stuff that
So we're starting with legal stuff?
I believe so, yeah. I believe we're going to be kind of getting into some of that stuff.
Thank you. Another exciting topic
Yeah.
we'll be able to bring to the committee. Templeton Elementary School Building Committee update. Mr. Mason isn't here. I don't know if Dr. Casavant, if you have met recently on the Templeton Elementary.
Yeah, well, let's see, I'm trying to think if it was then this.
Since before Thanksgiving?
No, we've met once since the last meeting, this meeting, and we've reviewed the list of FF&E, which, just all the wonderful things we want to put in the building, and some change orders that had to do with cameras, more surveillance inside the building, et cetera. And we have a meeting actually tomorrow night.
Great. Thank you. And PMES Building Committee, if you want to give a quick.
So they had a study done on Phillipston Memorial, and it was a very complex, very detailed evaluation of the building itself. There's a lot to it, meaning that to fix one thing means that it may very well trigger other things in terms of either building code or ADA compliancy. So I think that we have another meeting scheduled in January, because we're looking into a few things about sprinkler systems and, gosh, I don't want to, without Rick here, but sprinkler systems and how does one have a sprinkler system without town water, and how does that work, and just a lot of different questions. But the committee is moving forward with some with some questions. It was a very long meeting. It was a very detailed meeting, and there's a lot of work to be done, I think.
Do we have a school committee member on that committee?
No, we do not.
We're working on.
Well, when I say it's signed.
Dan
today.
Sandin used to be, but is he now still
I
on it
believe
as a town rep?
He is.
We're working on that. We're trying to.
Right. We were there, so myself, Anne Marie,
Oh,
Rick,
okay.
And I know that
were there, but we're not.
Jeff was.
But Jeff wasn't
like
there at
to-
that meeting. He just he
yeah.
couldn't, because it had been changed several times. It just was a matter of scheduling, but we have people who are present.
Yeah. So, okay, thank you. All right, we don't have any correspondence to review, as far as I know, if that's still correct. And the next meeting is at Phillipston at 6 o'clock. We'll do our finance meeting before that at 5 on January 16th. That's Wednesday, January 16th, at Phillipston. So let's remember
Finance
that.
at Phillipston as well?
Finance at Phillipston
Okay.
as well.
What room? No, I won't be.
Gym.
Yeah.
So never mind.
I'm assuming we'll be in the gym unless something needs to change
I
with
would
that.
imagine we will not be in the gym just because of the basketball schedule,
Oh,
quite
true.
frankly.
Yeah.
So we'll probably be in
That
one of the classes. We'll figure it out.
or something,
We'll
okay.
resource room, but we'll.
Okay, all right, great. At this point, unless there's anything else that anyone has, I would entertain a motion that we move into executive session for reason number 3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigation position of the public body and the chair so declares. We would not be coming back into open session afterwards, and the basis of the discussion is really just an update on UFCW negotiations. So I would entertain a motion for that.
So,
Seconded?
I have a motion and a second, and we need to do a roll call. Mrs. Mattson?
yes.
Mr. Marks? Ms. Kojal?
Yes.
Mrs. Hughes says yes, and Mrs. Chartier says yes. So I thank everyone for coming, and we are now out of open session.